I've had a couple of pairs of these Condor boots now, and I was actually quite shocked at how much I like them. I did a real quick review last year, and was talking about how much I'd worn them. Well, I wore one set for 8 months straight, and wore it down to minus 27. I was walking around on campus, just, you know, travel on the pavement, that kind of thing. And I kept wearing them right until it was like minus 27, because they were keeping my feet warm up until about that point. At that point, though, I froze the sole, and I ended up cracking it. The crazy thing is, my son is still wearing those boots. I mean, they're over 1.5 years old now. They were worn a ton. I still wear them occasionally too. Condor sent me out a new pair. They were like super awesome about that, and there was just like no questions asked. And then I was an idiot, and I actually stepped on something quite sharp, and I tore the sole of my boot. I was really pissed off about that, actually. I still wear these, you know, pretty much on a daily basis, because I find them really good on my knees, and there's lots and lots of cushion in them. They're nice and light, and despite the fact that they're like a full-size like combat boot, they're super light. They feel like a running shoe when you're wearing them, and because there's a lot of support, you know, like I said, it's been really nice on my knees, and so I just keep wearing them. They're sort of like my go-to footwear now. And I used to wear a lot of like really expensive stuff like Scarpa, you know, Italian-made shoes, you know, for backpacking and scrambling and stuff like that. The only issue I've seen with the boots so far that wasn't me caused, and I'm like a kid, was I accidentally like caught this flap in here in the zipper. Like, it folded in and I didn't see it, and I kind of tore that. However, they're still waterproof, and that hasn't affected, you know where I can wear them and stuff. So like I said, even though they're a summer desert boot, I wear them in, you know, through the winter. They're, like I said, waterproof. They're really durable. They're really comfortable. They're light, and they have some like really cool features, like the fact that they come with 2 different sets of shoelaces, and every single pair I've stuck with the elastic shoelaces, and then been able to utilize the side zip really well. The elastic just gives like this nice custom fit to them, and I think that's one of the reasons I like find them so comfortable. You know, it's just, there's no tight spots here or there, you know, it's just a nice even pressure on your feet and on your ankles. If I was to make any recommendation, I would say that, you know, keeping this injection molded sole, but then adding like a harder surface to them would be good. You know, like I said, I know this is my fault, like this damage on it, and it's by no means a knock to Condor. Like, one of the reasons that they send me these boots is so that I can test them and, you know, see how long they last. And they've done really well, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but we've barely worn into the lugs. I mean, this stuff's not even a millimeter deep on these little grooves, and they're still going strong. So now I say those boots are far from, you know, going in the junk pile or anything like that. However, you know, we're on to testing another set of boots, and this is the Condor Richards boot, and I am going to focus you on my feet so you can see what I'm doing here. So the Condor Richards boots, they have a different style of side zip. They brought the zipper up to the front here, and I think they did that just because the zipper might have been getting damaged down on the bottom here, and so that you're actually zipping along the same sort of angle line as the laces. Sorry, I like to say So, got these. I've been wearing them for a day now. They're very comfortable. I forget that I even have them on. I've developed a little trick for putting them on. So I've got my elastic laces in. I've got my laces tucked into the little pocket up in the top here. And you sort of just forget about laces. I mean, it's like having Velcro shoes when you're a kid. So, if you have these on though, I like recommend, especially when you're breaking them in and trying to get everything to lay where you want it, tuck the tongue in, reach under here, pull it back, and they zip up like that. Super easy. You know, they're a high top, lots of support. These ones are even lighter. The sole doesn't feel quite as soft as the other boots. They feel even more sort of running shoe-ish. So I imagine if you were doing basic or something like that these would be quite comfortable for the days that you've got to run long distances. So, really what else to say? I mean, I think they go for about $100 or so, and you really can't beat them. They've been better boots than any of the old uniform boots that I've used. Back this up a bit. They've been better boots than any of the uniform boots that I've used, and I've used the expensive Danners. I've used Bates. What else? Like I said, I've had Zamberlan hiking boots, that kind of thing. Funny thing is, I had $350 pair of Zamberlan boots that actually sliced right through the Vibram sole. And, here you've got $100 set of boots, and they actually held up just as well as those super expensive Italian-made boots. So really just, again, I always say question what you're going to do. If you're looking for a set of boots that you're going to wear in like the rocks and sharp stuff all the time, then these might not be for you. But if you're a general like infantry or patrolman or something like that, then I would highly recommend these boots. I think you'll be very comfortable with them, and even if you wear out a pair a year, you're still going to be, ahead of getting any other super expensive high-end brand name out there. So yeah, I hope that helps. And then I was going to mention too that I also use a fair bit of other Condor gear. This is actually a water bottle holder, and it's got some insulation to it. It's got an extra little pocket here. What I use this for is carrying that camera that I'm using to film myself right now. And I carry a spare battery in it for making these videos. Some really cool little features like this water pouch actually has a place where you can actually feed a line through it. So if you have a water bottle that has a drinking straw type line, you can use that. We're still using this old Condor pack that we've had for a couple of years. I've got my Kestrel, my weather vane set up on it, carry my laser range finders, everything I need. I even carry my spotting scope in here. I've got spare batteries, some filming stuff, my Walker electronic earmuffs, and I've got fire starting stuff. I've got an emergency blanket. I've got all sorts of bits and pieces in here, notepads, all the junk that I carry. I've got a quick source of ammo for the shotgun here that I carry on the side here. Again, that's a Condor setup. And then I've got some of these quick release Fast-X attachment points. This is a pretty inexpensive backpack. It's pretty minimalist. I've got, as you probably noticed, I've got my my homemade shooting rests, that kind of thing. Your standard bean bag, rear bag. You can get fabric, you can make these things for pretty cheap. I mean, I've been making them for a couple of years now. These ones I've got polyfill stuff like a quilt filling, but it's really dense. And then I've got attachments. You know, I'm just experimenting with different things. You could even slip this onto the side of a stock and then have that ready so you can flip it down. Number of different things. We got a bigger one too. I mean, you could use this as an underarm rester, a number of different things. You don't have to spend like $150 for these fancy little pads. I mean, it's easy enough to make these things at home. You can find a used sewing machine or something like that, and you'll be off to the races, so to speak. For a rear bag, for your standard use for most days, I do recommend that you fill this with rice or polyfill. If you use rice or anything organic, just don't get it wet. But I use like a polyfill pellet for these, and it does really well. It's extremely stable, and it's the same thing we shoot off of, whether it's 200 or 2000, and it does really well. All total, you're only out a little bit of money. I will recommend too, though, that you be aware, like, you need to use heavy duty needles, and you need to use some kind of like nylon heavy duty stitching, because if you use something like your standard polyester clothing stitch, it's gonna tear apart. All right, that's it for now.